Did you know that each one of you has a best friend who, when not treated or managed well, can turn out to be your worst enemy? Did you know that if you knew how to manage this friend of yours well, the only limit, if at all, you would have in your life would be the never-ending sky? Did you know that it is this best friend of yours that decides the times you are happy, sad, loving, hateful, upset, angry, kind, scared, generous, envious, or to put it in simple terms, divine or demoniacal? Did you know that this best friend of yours is someone who is with you 24/7? Did you guess who it is? Or rather, did you guess what it is? Of course, it's your mind. Now, let us define the mind. The human mind is a complex set of faculties made up of a particular pattern of the flow of thought of a person based on various factors such as their fundamental nature and attitude, gender, age, knowledge, and experience. It collects the inputs received through the five senses, processes them, and based on the judgment it makes, triggers speech or action, or either discards or stores the input received to be recalled and acted upon at a later point in time. The mind is abstract, and yet it is powerful enough to actually define a person. I'll give an example. Let's say you bump into someone you know very well, but you notice that that person kind of speaks differently. At first, you think that the person could be sick or something. And then you think maybe he or she is intoxicated, or in a worst case, newly indoctrinated into some bizarre religion. It is the same person you knew, but you treat him or her differently, and certainly not the way you always did. It is because the way that person behaved, reacted, or interacted has changed. This means that apart from their facial features and physical appearance, your recognition and acceptance of that person depended on the way they thought, spoke, behaved, and interacted. That is the power of the mind. In spite of being something abstract, it forms and determines one's entire personality. You are what you believe you are. Shloka 1703 from the SRIMAD BHAGAVAD GITA. Sattvanurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata. Shraddhamayo yam purusho yo yachraddha sa eva saha. The faith of everyone is as per their nature, Arjuna. People are what the nature of their faith is. Organized religions are systems of mass mental enslavement, whereas the Vedic dharmic path is one that is ideal for seekers who wish to go great distances to explore the powers of their mind and finally realize their own divinity. Let us now analyze what action which is produced by thoughts is. Action, which also includes behavior, has been well explained in the following shlokas of the SRIMAD BHAGAVAD GITA. Those who have read the SRIMAD BHAGAVAD GITA would have come across the 5 factors defined in the 18th chapter of the scripture. Those factors have been declared in the Sankhya system, which is the philosophy of spiritual illumination as the ultimate purpose of all actions. Shloka 1814. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prithagvidam vividhascha prithag cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. The 5 factors are the body, which is the seat of action, the ego that claims to be the doer, the mind and the various senses, the different functions performed by the being, and the superconsciousness within as the 5th factor. Shloka 1815. Sharira vangmano bhiryat karma prarabhate naraha Nyayam va viparitam va panchayate tasya hetavaha. Whatever action a man performs by his body, speech and mind, whether good or bad, are caused by these 5 factors. Let us take a look at the 5 factors again. The body, which is the seat of action, the ego that claims to be the doer, the false ego, I'll explain this in a bit, the mind and the various senses, the different functions performed by the being, and the superconsciousness within. Yet it is the mind that functions as the CEO of a living organic system, particularly sentient ones such as human beings. It is for this purpose that the ultimate goal of the SRIMAD BHAGAVAD GITA and all other Vedic scriptures is to master the mind and not to find some separate being called God or a Father in heaven, as many people erroneously believe it to be. You are divine. The self in you is God. The self in you is that very supreme Brahman, or the ultimate truth. There is no God outside you. You are that. Tattvamasi. And who is it that blocks, hinders, or prevents you from realizing the greatest truth of your divinity? The answer is that it is your mind, which is influenced by a major disease that almost every person who has not done some introspection suffers from: false ego. The reason I say false ego is because ego exists in all living beings. It is nothing but the same all-pervading supreme life force or Brahman existing in what I call organic systems with epidermal boundaries or boundaries of the skin. You or people known to you have pet animals that respond to the names given to them, don't they? That is the ego or the I identity of living beings. But what I mean by false ego is the image that a person creates of himself or herself that they are not. I'd like to end this video with 2 amazingly powerful shlokas from the SRIMAD BHAGAVAD GITA. It would be wonderful if you could listen carefully and reflect on these 2 shlokas. Please note them down as they can greatly help you in life. Shloka 605. Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuratmaiva rupuratmanaha. You must lift yourself with your own mind and should not degrade yourself. The mind is a friend as well as the enemy of the self. Shloka 606. Bandhuratmat manastasya yenatmaivat manajitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartayetatmaiva shatruvat. The mind is the greatest friend for the one who has conquered it, but for the one who has not done so, the mind is the greatest enemy. The SRIMAD BHAGAVAD GITA is a purely systematic approach to mastering the art of managing one's own mind. Once you have thoroughly understood this truth, you will know how to comfortably steer your way through all the major challenges you face in life. Be an efficient leader, manage ego clashes or relationship issues like an expert, and live a richly rewarding and fulfilling life. Why do you waste time looking for something outside you? What you're looking for is, in fact, not within you, but it is yourself. You are divine and therefore feel divine, think divine, and be divine always. Learn to master your mind, which is the only factor that can prevent you from realizing and living the ultimate truth that you are Tattvamasi. The self in you is Krishna. Shloka 1020. Ahamatma gudakesha sarvabhuta shayastitaha ahamadishcha madhyam cha bhutanamanta evacha. Krishna says, I am the self, O Arjuna, situated within all living entities. I am the origin, the middle, and also the end of all beings. Thank you. May peace reign in your heart, mind, and soul. Stay blessed. Hari Om. Jai Shri Krishna.